Welcome, guys. I'm seeing already a couple of attendees joining. And you're not dreaming, you are hearing some music behind us. So it's Foo Fighters, and we are just waiting a couple of minutes, maybe one or two, until everyone joined. I'm seeing a lot of well-known faces in the attendee list that we are getting. So no pressure, guys. As mentioned in the warm-up, we have 170 attendants, at least registered people who wants to join. I'm seeing also some IGEL faces. Good to have you here, guys. And we have 1.5 hours full of fun, full of tech talk with our greatest masterminds of IGEL from our CTO and office to the CTO. So we'll do a short introduction in a second. Did I miss someone? Let me check the list. We're getting even more people joining. That's good.
Do we have Glühwein too for 1.5 hours?
I would love to. I would love to. No, water. What an exciting time.
Coffee.
That would be even better, but I'm getting older, and drinking coffee at this time would not make me sleep until tomorrow. So that's the thing when you can become 40. You will get that old also, Matthias.
Oh yeah.
We've got two questions already, Sebastien. Someone says they can't hear us, but I can definitely hear you. I'm just wondering, can everybody else that's an attendee hear? If
let me
raise their hand.
And I'm activating the chat right away. What a shame that it was deactivated by default. Oh no, yes. Okay, so thank you, Giacomo. So it's not.
And then, where did you get your hat?
Next question. It was a gift, but I can't tell you the whole story because the call is recorded, and I would have to kill most of you if I would tell you the right story. Okay. But let's come back to that, like we'll see a little bit later on, maybe in a private chat. Welcome, guys. Welcome. So let me push some answers out, and then we can make the start. Here we go, and answer live, done, and now, Leon, now you can chat whatever you like in the chat. Here we go. So let me share my left part of my screen and start where we left last time. Here we go, and let me turn off the music, even if it could play all day long. I love the Foo Fighters. But yeah, let's start. So warm welcome to our office to the CTO and Rene to our IGEL Community December meetup. A warm welcome, guys. Glad that you could make it. We are doing that since a couple of years now, and it's always a pleasure to interact with you, listening to your thoughts. And basically, we have a couple of things of our agenda today, but we are mostly covering what happened in 2023, what is coming in 2024 in different sections. So after having Rene and myself stop talking about the IGEL community, we'll go over to Matthias, then to Simon Townsend and Jason Mafera, our Office to the CTO masterminds, and then we'll discuss about product showcases and have an interactive Q&A. We know that it's a webinar, so you're muted by default, but if you have anything you would like to discuss with us, please keep it coming. Ask in the chat, ask in the Q&A section, and we will take over that afterwards. Or if you have questions that you would like to raise lively, just write us a short text and we will unmute you. From the agenda that we have in the IGEL community for today, it's mostly celebrating, right? We have passed one additional year, so we will turn 6 in, more or less 6 days. So an additional anniversary of the IGEL community, and yeah, we achieved a lot of great things this year. And yeah, I will just share some news before we go over to the OCTO time. So first of all, hey, Rene, you joined the IGEL community team this year, sorry, my bad. How was your first 6 months, right, in the community team? How did you feel?
It's 9 months already, nearly, but it's fantastic. Really going back from a director role into the field, talking with so many great and amazing people. Yeah, I'm very positive. So, and to be honest, it also was very exciting to dig deeper into the community thinking. What is a community? What is behind this? So, I always were part of the community, but I never digged so deep into it. And now getting all those insights, what's also organizational wise behind the community, just wow, and learning every day, and it's a really great place to be, and I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's a really fun job. It could be definitely worth what we are doing. Adding additional team, even if it's not directly in the team community, but let's say in parallel, we have the technical documentation team who joined us. So that's also one reason why you're seeing a little bit more content, but let's come back to that in a second. And something that you might not have noticed until now, but we have a couple of new names in the community, which are called IGEL Tech Exchange and then a number. That's basically IGEL employees, but who are not working with their real names for different reasons, because, yeah, you don't want to get interacted with them and they're working on your ticket and so on. But we have a lot of more faces joining and helping on a daily basis. Then, Rene, I guess that's something that you would like to talk about, right?
Yeah, this is one of the pieces and ideas I had when I started in the community. I wanted to do a podcast, so nothing innovative. So many podcasts on the market. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to hear about the stories about the people. So we're having a lot of tech podcasts, but this is really about the people behind IGEL, behind the community, hear their story, and I can tell you we had 3 great episodes with Barry Bintu and Simon Binder, and again, I learned so much and had great discussions about diversity, about career building, about mentorship, and really amazing and really enjoying this format. Next episode is with Sven Jansen from Device Trust coming out next week, just before Christmas. And yeah, would like to advertise this. So if you didn't listen yet, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. And if you want to be part of it, hey, send me a direct message, and really happy to hear everyone's story. So
I can only recommend this, Rene. I'm already a fan of your podcast, so
awesome.
Really like them, enjoying
Really
listening to them. So
great.
Super
Cool.
good.
Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you both. Then going over to the next section, I will go through them quite quickly since we don't have too much time to spend on the IGEL community stuff, but still, you might have noted that we have a couple of new articles showing up in the IGEL community, right? So you know that we have the ISNs, which are IGEL security notices, covering security, obviously. And just as a fun fact, we had 21 in last year, and now we have over 32 this year. Hopefully, no additional ones, but I heard some news that we might have something to share with you guys. But yeah, remember last year we had discussion about Log4j. Now it's a little bit different, and we have a way more complicated framework around it. Regarding this, we are also covering a few new workflows. Like, hey, if you ask a question which might be related to our product management, we have a new process which covers it from a workflow perspective, which creates a report. I will come back to that in a second. We have a new knowledge share channel where we are sharing news with you, and basically it's looking like this. We launched it a couple of months ago in August, and this channel is really there to share information with you, documentation, blog posts, and so on. Rene covered most of them this year. The new article you might be interested in until the time where we'll have a newsletter for the technical publication team. We are sharing interesting articles with you in that channel, but also the ISN themselves. So you have the mailing list on our igel.com website, but beside that, you get there more or less in real time by looking at our IGEL community. So if you're not part of us, please join us on join.igelcommunity.com. From there, we are sharing all the feedback that you are giving us, and where we say, okay, we can't answer it by our own. We need to push it to our product management by getting a report. That's when I'm putting just a little P for parking as an emoji. It creates a workflow, and then we are going through that information on a regular basis with our product managers. Talking about workflows, I don't want to go too deep, but basically we want to make recurrent tasks happening in a more automated way, like asking you which firmware you're using if you're asking for an issue, if you have an app issue, which version of the app you're using, which UMS version you are using in case you have something related to your configurations or profiles, and so on. So we are based on emojis putting out some specific messages to you. And that's not because we are lazy. It's just because asking every question every time, you might miss something. That's the reason why we put it a couple of these workflows in Slack. So if you're interested in getting more details, just text me and I'm happy to give you a little insight. From there, just a new stuff that we shared, that we launched 2 days ago. It's direct notification. Since we don't have too much time to speed on this, I will just go through the video quite quickly. Basically, you have a new workflow, that the link that you have on the left hand, the QR code, where as soon as you click on it, you can subscribe to specific topics. So if you're interested in IGEL news and IGEL software updates, IGEL security, or maybe because you're a customer who's working in the financial world, you might be interested in getting news regarding your specific vertical. Until now, we had different channels where we posted different information. But again, if you're in North America, you might not be interested in getting news about a manufacturing event in Germany from IGEL. That's the reason why we said, hey, why not creating tailored information to you? And based on this workflow, you are subscribing specific informations. And from there, a specific workflow is happening behind the scene and is adding you to specific channels as well as to specific groups. And these groups can then be used to share in direct message form information with you. That's what you are seeing now on the left upper part of the video. And we are working on enhancing this and getting the marketing team sharing even more information with you from there. So let's get prepared to get even more informations what you might be interested in. From there, that's the general announcement that we made. And we have another workflow that you might already have noticed at the private build workflow. And just to give you an idea, we had about roughly 100 private builds published this year, more or less automatically, and we had over 600 requests. That's a step that Doug and myself did in the past by sending you an email on every email that you send us. But from this year, we're using a workflow where you can just ask for a specific version, and based on some kind of magic in the background, you are getting then a direct message with the corresponding download link. So if you didn't notice until now, go to new product updates and you will get the information from there. Ron, Nea, our GitHub mastermind, shared and created a new IGEL Community GitHub.io documentation. And that was also this year. At the beginning, I had to check when it was. It was in March. And it's not the same as the GitHub doc that we had before. It's a new, I would say, a new overlay for that documentation. And that's how it looks like. So he is gathering all the data that you are sharing day in, day out in the community and put that into the GitHub doc. And that helped a lot, right? Because you can check which private build is based on what previous version and so on, but also getting extremely detailed information about command line commands, etc. And then I will just go over to the last slide, or more or less the last slide, just a few numbers. So in less than 1 year, we got 2,000 more members in the IGEL community. We increased our net promoter score, which is basically how happy we are with our service, +1. Doesn't seem that much, but coming from 81, going to 82, it's a tough time, and we did it. And we have 600 new unique companies representing the community. So that's a huge step. Last one, hey, Rene, I guess that's something that we can share a little bit. Remember, we had the IGEL user groups at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a couple of discussions. But Rene, do you remember what we talked about to that time and where we are now?
Yeah, so I think the idea, and this is also part of my podcast, where asking everyone, hey, name the top 3 on-site events you like. This is also always a discussion. Hey, doesn't make sense to have on-site events? Which events should you attend? And because I think at the moment there's a finding phase. We said, okay, we postpone this a little bit, and we're looking, I think, for the next year what we can do, what makes sense, because also maybe interacting with other communities to combine events to make it very useful for everyone. And yeah, so this year not, but I think, and this is something I'm really looking for 2024, being more present also on site with our community, meeting the people, creating great content together also with our partners and customers, and this is something I'm really looking forward for the next year. But yes. Yeah, this year we postponed it a little bit.
Yeah, Thank you. Right. So I will just go through the next topic. So we recreate the 600 archive article. That's what makes us visible in Google and in any search engines. Our meetups are getting more and more on pace. So we are targeting 2 a month. For the moment, we are getting 1 a month, which is already pretty good. The reporting, which is more internal stuff, did revisited. We're working on how to become an insider rule set. That's something that our insiders are already aware of. Early access program is a hot topic. How could you get access to early versions of the software, apps, installation of UMS, ICG, or even in the older world, the OS 11 thing. And that's it. So let's switch to our OCTO team. Let me share the other part of the presentation. Guys, who wants to make the start? I heard that's a discussion, right?
So yeah, so we thanks Sebastien for the intro, and probably so as usual we're disrupting the program, so it's not going to be a monologue by myself. I don't want to make this boring, so that's why I have those two gentlemen joining me, Simon and Jason, to add much more value and insights on what we have done, what we are doing in 2023, what we are going to do in 2024, our general ideas, and I think we also have some live demos that we are going to present. So I hope that's going to be an entertaining. How much time do we still have left? 3 hours, right?
Oh, yeah, 3 hours until tomorrow, you mean?
Yeah. No, just making fun. So we want to really give you a host of different topics, talk to you about the things that we have seen in 2023. I think 2023 in general was a super interesting year for the EUC space, with a lot of certainties changing, with new opportunities opening up, with IGEL releasing Cosmos, OS 12, UMS 12. I think let's try to dive into the look back into 2023. If you just can switch to the next slide, and then I think we make this much more interactive. So just a quick question. I'm pretty sure that everybody knows Simon and Jason. So or do you guys want to give a short intro? So I don't.
I'm based out of the UK, Simon Townsend. I think I know most of the people on here, either from one of these calls or Disrupt, but great to see you all, and thanks very much for attending. Jason, over to you.
Thanks, Simon. So I probably know fewer people. I'm a bit newer than Simon. Started about, just over a year ago. And so I'm based out of North America in the Boston area. So very nice to meet everyone.
Great. So I just wanted to make sure that we are not missing anyone out. And they're asking who are these crazy guys talking about things. So let's have a look into 2023. And I think let's start with a couple of key highlights for us. And if you want to add in some additional things that are relevant to you guys, feel free just to write in the chat or in the Q&A stuff. So we are happy to embed this into our discussion. I think one of the key highlights for us as IGEL was the launch of OS 12, UMS 12 back in April, and being announced during Disrupt. We had a couple of tech previews. We had people testing, validating it. And for us, it was a big leap, actually, because it meant that we had to completely rethink the way how we are building an operating system and how we are envisioning management of devices and secure endpoints in the future. I think we, with the first launch, we have set the stage for a new set of services that we have introduced that are very well received by our customers. One is the onboarding service that allows customers to have simple onboarding workflows, making sure that their actual endpoint users just need to answer 3 simple questions and then their device is under management and fully auto-deployed and set up within minutes. The other super important part, which is a key value that we've also seen validated across this year, is the app portal, where we don't have a single firmware in place anymore, but we have single applications that allows the customer to pick and choose the right mix of versions and capabilities for their respective use cases. Why I'm so adamant about this, if I have a look back, and Sebastien talking about 100+ private builds, I think
Crazy, right?
It's
That's crazy.
And it's just a reason why OS 12 is so important, right? Building 100 private builds means that we have 100 reasons why customers are choosing to go not with a mainline version of IGEL OS. Cutting the firmware in pieces, making sure that customers can mix and put together their own versions, build their own Kool-Aid cocktail, whatever you want of applications they need to have on board. This is dramatically going to reduce the complexity of managing 100+ firmware versions, private builds, enabling customers to get fast access to the latest applications. And so this is, for me, one of the premier key highlights of OS 12 and UMS 12 to make sure that this is helping customers to keep up with the constant stream of new applications and versions being published, right? And then you have another reason for that, which is we are living in a hybrid world. That means there are still a lot of on-prem requirements. So people are running their Citrix or VDI environment, but they need to use Teams or Zoom. And this is really super, super important to make sure that you can actually keep your Citrix workspace app stable while you're updating your Zoom VDI or your Teams deployment. And there are additional other reasons, right? So the more you look into SaaS, CI/CD-based workflows, the more you will be facing that you have a constant stream of updates required. Talk about ISNs, and I want to also refer back to that. The number of ISNs is increasing because we have more and more applications that we are using and deploying that are connecting directly to the internet. So the use case of having separate devices, the traditional thin client use case is still important, but it's even more important to make sure that those devices can safely connect to the cloud, to the internet. And with that, we have to have a constant stream of updates to make sure the browser is safe. Those critical libraries like OpenSSL, like WebKit, they are constantly maintained and updated. And that's why OS 12 is the better fit for those requirements going forward, making sure it's easier and faster to update to keep your device up to date, stable, and compliant. And so this is why I'm super positive around OS 12 and UMS 12. Yes, we have to work on getting more features into OS 12 with the app portal. We've invested heavily into optimizing the deployment of applications, keeping them updated. We've probably seen at the beginning that OS 11 firmware was more up to date on the Citrix Workspace app than OS 12 was. So those are let's call it the teething problems that you see when you're introducing a complete new technology stack. And that's why I'm super happy that we are making great progress here and that we are working on, keeping the pace, making sure that we are up to date and that we are relevant for our customers. And I don't know whether Jason, Simon, you have any more feelings around this?
I think most people on this call know this already, right? But to sort of carry on from what you were saying there, what you had with 11 was an incredibly mature product, and it was very, very comprehensive, right? There was so much in it. It had been built up over time. Its capabilities were extremely powerful, but also for, even when I joined 2018 through to 2022, we were pumping additional capabilities in it, particularly from third parties. So you had all the IGEL ready stuff going into it, Improvata, Lakeside, Liquidware, all of that good stuff was going into the product. And yet we still knew we needed to move our own product and our own infrastructure on. So to get 12 out and to try and get all of that good stuff carried over and simultaneously start to think about what IGEL could look like in the future, not just a thin client that accessed, a Citrix environment. Those three things coming together, I think, has probably been one of the reasons why, your guys have been working 7 days a week, all hours every single day, right? Because there was a lot to do. And I think particularly when you start to look at the latest version of the UMS and you start to listen to what we're going to talk about in a bit for 2024, all of that starts to come together. So I personally think that we've, you and the development team and the people and the folks at IGEL have achieved something quite significant, really, if you think about it. I mean, it was, as you said, it was only really released GA in April, right? And there's plenty more to do, but sort of like there was a number of things that came together, which just meant that there was an incredible amount of work to be done.
Yeah, we had a discussion, by the way, with Christian Werner and with Florian Strobel, our two product owners for IGEL OS, for IGEL Base OS, and as well for the UMS, Web UMS, and ICG. And we just said the version that came out or that will come out in a couple of days for the IGEL OS version are the versions we were waiting there for a long time. And I know that people who were not thinking about migrating from OS 11 to OS 12 due to missing features should really look at the upcoming version of IGEL OS, because it will fix and it will assign most of your concerns regarding post-session command and everything that you were missing in the old world. And it would also add, I will not tell too much because the session is not published until now, but just a couple of UX thingies regarding how to configure your device, maybe your mouse, which are way more easier than before, way more user-friendly. That's something that we can give you as the feedback, OCTO, CTO, but also from our listeners, hopefully. It's going better and better from every day. And if you look at the Web UMS, what you achieve there from the dark mode, that's one thing, but also the usability of the Web UMS, it's a huge change. It's a huge change. So big thank you from our side.
Yeah. And I think I also want to add, so we are really listening a lot to our customers and with that also to the community to see what we need to prioritize to reduce the especially on the UMS, to make sure that you can stay most of the time in the Web UMS or UMS web app going forward, right? So we still have a way to go there, but we are heavily investing. We have added a lot of resources, making sure we can really drive the UMS web app capabilities forward and make sure we are closing the missing capabilities that you guys are looking into in your day-by-day work. Same applies also for the OS 12. As you said, I think custom command, post-session command and stuff like this is really key. It's all of those small little things where you hopefully get a lot of applause because people said, okay, why is that missing? I don't get it, right? So we really try to listen and close the gap on this one.
Yeah, Leon, we'll tackle your points in the chat there as we start to look at the strategy for 2024. But please be aware that we are fully aware and listening to what some of our customers, including yourself, are talking about, including some of those points there. So we can come back to that.
Absolutely. And as I said, so OS 12, UMS 12, this is what we are working on with a high capacity while still maintaining OS 11. It would be great to get some really feedback from you guys in terms of the migration. We are also going to add, currently internally we're calling the current migration Lite, because it allows you to migrate, from the OS 11 to 12. We also want to give you more tools on hand going forward to migrate profiles and do, have a more automated, I saw that I'm currently building my OS 12 profiles. We want to make sure we can support you going forward to migrate your existing sets of profiles into OS 12 profiles. So that's one of the things that we're looking at.
Matthias, you asked me to be the timekeeper.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute left.
Okay, good. So probably let's move forward on those other things. So Jason, can you add a little bit of context to the IGEL Identity Agent implementation?
Yeah, sure. So we've been working behind the scenes to look at how we handle authentication in a more general way, and looking at a lot of the specialized workflows and use cases that we've been delivering. It really comes down to different devices that need to be integrated, different forms of authentication that need to be leveraged, and then obviously driving workflow into whether it's a SaaS application, a desktop, right, local or remote, et cetera. And so we started to look at how do we put together a set of common interfaces to make sure that as all of these integrations continue to expand and new authentication capabilities start to come to market, that we have kind of a framework for how these things can work together, rather than in the past, it's been very much a kind of per partner initiative. So an example would be Imprivata in healthcare, right? There's very specific integrations that are required for those workflows. And up until recently, we were kind of dependent on the third party to build in all of the authentication libraries, all of the device connectivity integration, those sorts of things. And so we've taken a look at that over the last year and started to put together more of an identity framework that allows us to have identity agent is what we're really calling it, that gives us the ability to have standardized implementations around devices and authentication modalities and leveraging workflows. So it's really, I think it's streamlining and simplifying the overall kind of identity integration approach for us. And, it's starting to bear a lot of fruit. So the first, delivery along this path was specific to some healthcare workflows with Imprivata integration, but that's not where we're stopping. That's kind of the first one that got the ball rolling and got us thinking this way. And so as we move forward, you'll see us continue to bring forward partnerships with other authentication vendors and delivering kind of consistent workflows, if you will, so that in the future, as you look to change from one authentication vendor to another, that, ultimately the goal here is to make it very straightforward and non-impactful for the end user. So they really don't see much of a change. Maybe they're using a different type of authentication, but their workflow stays the same. Their, essentially the user experience itself maintains consistency. And that's, on the identity side, as well as on the, let's say, third-party delivery platform side, where we want to make it really as easy as possible to, take the heavy lift off of any end user retraining that needs to happen, and just allow the end users to come up, do what they're used to doing, and, end up kind of in an environment where they expect to be. So a lot of work going on in this area. You'll continue to hear more about this as we move forward, especially into 2024 as we start to expand it. But 2023 was kind of the, let's say, the year that we tested all this out to make sure that it would come together the way we expected and that we could build kind of a program on it. So that's what you'll see there.
Super. And I think I also want to pick one of the things where you would ask IGEL at IGEL, why is that so new to us? Just to share a little bit of a story with you. So this is talking about IGEL using IGEL. Actually, we did this in parts of our business since more than 10 years. So the development team, I think in 2011, we started to migrate the development organization over to a virtualized environment. So we were running all of our development stuff in a data center. At the beginning, it was hard, I have to say. So we were suffering through 2 years because most of the biggest problem at that time was I/O. So it wasn't about the experience. It was about a hard drive still being used super slow. Today, we are more than happy to have this, so we can easily onboard new people. We can make people work from home. So it took us like 5 days only when the pandemic hit to send UD Pockets back home. So the real new thing about IGEL at IGEL is that we are rolling this out now on mobile devices. Through our strategic partnerships with Lenovo, HP, we have pre-installed IGEL hardware, and we have started to equip our own people that are on the road, not only sitting at a fixed desk, to actually work with IGEL. And I'm, guilty now for 1.5 years. I said, I want to try it out. I'm still there. I still can work. You can see me, you can hear me. It's actually working, and we are continually improving this, the experience on mobile devices. I think that's a challenge. This is not only because we can do it as IGEL, but also the world has moved to a DAS to have applications on your fingertips, like everywhere, right? And I always hear those discussions, how can you work? I think we have network everywhere, and it just depends on how much network we have. So you have to be a little bit more conscious about bandwidth, but let's talk about this in the context of 2024, because I think there we are adding more value for those mobile use cases with OS 12 going forward, and continuing to add more certified hardware platforms with Lenovo, HP, LG, and others. All right, so being conscious of time, what are the key priorities that we are looking into 2024 as the product organization? If you just can switch to the next slide.
Sure.
Thank you. This is like 4 high-level pillars that we are looking at. So first of all, security is a key matter to us. We want to make sure that our customers are staying safe, secure, especially in a world where more and more ransomware attacks are happening, where we have activities around how can I reduce the impact of an attack, because an attack will happen at any given time, right? I don't want to talk about zero trust in general, but in the direction of zero trust, how can I reduce the blast radius, right? How do I make sure that my infrastructure is less vulnerable to attacks? I think with IGEL OS, we have already built in a lot of capabilities that are supporting our existing customers and partners to actually really reduce the attack surface just by the sheer amount of code that we have in there. We have a read-only file system that also reduces the attack vectors. We have a chain of trust. We have signed applications. We are investing a lot of resources, pen testing our own deployments. So we have a security team in place that is producing more ISNs, Sebastien. So
I can live with it.
Yeah, the team has expanded to more than 8 people, doing nothing else than making sure that the third-party code that we have integrating is secure, but also that the way how we are implementing code is secured and measured on up-to-date security systems like SAST, static source code analysis, but also trainings for our own people and teams. One of the good things about this is in 2024, we are going to release, or we're going to be ISO 27001 certified, which is going to be not only a commitment from IGEL, but also a validated certificate that we are meeting security standards for the development. We want to accelerate UMS and OS 12 adoption. So we see that we have now picked up momentum. You will see with UMS 12.03 and the release of OS 12.03, we will add a huge set of great new features and capabilities that will allow you to actually address more use cases, more workflows than ever before. It will help us to get the things that you're used from OS 11 and UMS 6 in place, making sure that you are staying in a modern infrastructure, benefiting from all of the great things that UMS 12 and OS 12 is introducing. Talking about those use cases, we will show you later on where we are going. We are definitely investing more DAS support. We are heavily investing in being a SaaS platform, enabling your users to also access browser-based applications to make sure that you can also benefit from local applications based on your needs and workflows. And last but not least, we clearly heard this not only from our partners, but also from our customers. IGEL needs to be easier to consume. So we are also investing a lot around user experience. How can we simplify the workflows, make IGEL easier to deploy and to update and instantiate? So these are the major activities that we are driving into 2024. How that translates into real activity, that's something that we have on the next slide, please. So these are some core projects that we're driving forward. And Simon, I don't know, do you want to talk to IGEL Developer Program first?
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. Might be worthwhile me sharing my screen. Is that going to be all right, Seb?
Give me a second, definitely. You should be able to do now.
Okay, hopefully you can see my
Yep.
web browser. Okay, good.
We saw the pictures of your last holidays. Great.
Okay.
Not kidding.
You had me worried. You had me worried. Okay, so one of the things that Matthias was just talking about there was making things easier to use. And one of the things, hopefully, that some of you have seen if you've downloaded the latest version of UMS 12 will be the new unified design. I think we've spoken about this at length for probably the last 6 to 9 months. If you're at Disrupt, we spoke about a unified design that was going to go across the cloud services. It was going to change what the OS looked like, and it was also going to change what the UMS looked like. And so in the latest release of UMS 12, that has now got that unified design, and you can expect to see a very similar look and feel now start to be applied to some of the cloud services, but more importantly, and I think much needed on the operating system. You can take various different elements of this and sort of talk about why it works best for organizations, but ultimately whether it's transparent backgrounds, the ability to personalize it. I know, Leon, you are very, very keen to, if I go into customize there, I can go and turn on dark mode and keep some of you happy right there. But the truth of the fact is that when this design makes its way down onto the operating system, it's actually going to give organizations a very, very easy way of customizing what employees see, particularly seeing as we see that more and more of our customers are going to see more and more of IGEL. So the last time I did a survey across our professional services teams, they told me that around 60% of our customer base, or at least our managed customer base, didn't get to see IGEL. They were just booting straight into Citrix, straight into VMware, straight into AVD. Where we see things going now is that IGEL is actually becoming more of the workspace. It's becoming a desktop operating system that people see on a daily basis. And I think for that reason, we do need to update the UI. It does need to have a more modern look and feel and appeal to, dare I say, the younger generation of users, and it needs to be customizable. So that unified look and feel is going to be important. But specifically, when we talk about the application developer program, if you head over to the app portal today, give or take 1 or 2 applications that didn't make it today, but will probably make it by the end of next week, we should be touching around 50 applications that have either been created by ourselves and packaged and put on the app portal, or importantly, created by our alliance partnerships, so our IGEL Ready partners, created by them, submitted to us for security and compatibility testing, and then put up onto the portal. So just let me give you an idea of that, and I'm going to be completely transparent. Matthias can tell me off if I'm being too transparent, but let's take Chromium as an example, and let's take the Citrix Workspace app as another example. Both of these applications are so important to IGEL that we actually package these apps up. We obviously work very closely with Citrix. We take their Linux-based application. We get early versions of that Linux Workspace app. We then take it, we package it up. If we want to tweak it, we security check it, we put it onto the app portal. We do the same with Conky. We do the same with the Chromium browser, etc. But there are other applications now in this application portal, such as ControlUp, both the remote DX and the edge DX, such as the liquidware Stratosphere client, such as Parallels that's coming, such as EG Innovations, which is just about to drop, just as Tricerat is just about to drop. Those applications are actually built by the vendor. So they take our application SDK, the IGEL OS SDK, and they build their application based on that SDK. And then they submit it to IGEL. We then security test it, and we then put it up into the portal. So what you end up with on the IGEL app portal is a mix of applications that either IGEL have created or packaged, or in fact ones that our partners have done, our alliance partnerships have done using the SDK. Now that works really well, and I think, yeah, as we said, we're up to about 50 in 9 months, but we need to be able to accelerate that. And I think you want us to accelerate that, and our customers definitely want us to accelerate that. So in addition to continuing those pieces of work, we are also creating an application developer program. And that application developer program is going to have a portal that is accessible to community members, to customers, and to partners. And it is going to allow people to build their own applications for IGEL and deploy those applications down in their own environments. Most of you are going to be very, very familiar with the GitHub and the community, and you'll know that there are already a huge number of recipes for browsers, applications, networking tools, etc., that Ron and other members of the community and their teams have obviously contributed. I am a massive user of these custom partitions, and I come here on a regular basis. I give Ron, thanks very much, Ron, for everything you do for me, but I give Ron a hard time all the time because I found here's another customer that needs Netscope. Here's another customer that's, I want to do some work with Island Browser as an example. The challenge here is that all of these are custom partitions, and custom partitions is not the direction that we want to go as an organization. What we want to be able to do is we want to combine the recipes and the knowledge that the community and the GitHub has got, but we want to bring that into a process, a portal, a program that would allow you, as an example, and or a customer who can't find an application on the application portal to say, hang on a second, I can become an IGEL application developer. I can access a application developer portal. I can come into the community, take the recipe for VLC, upload the binary, upload the recipe, and then download an application package, which I can then deploy into my environment. That application developer portal is going to allow you to create your own certificates, so that you can deploy your own certificate in your environment or your customer's environment, and then any application you build will be signed with that certificate. So it's still done in a very secure way. Only signed applications will be able to run, but those signed applications in a customer environment are either going to come from the portal, which means they've come from IGEL or an alliance partner, or somebody has registered as an application developer, used a recipe, uploaded a binary, created a package, had it signed, and that is therefore able to be deployed in that environment specifically. And the long-term goal there would be that this app portal, because we can now display custom applications in a customer's app portal, so based on who you're logged on as, you will actually be able to see those applications that you have packaged yourself for your own environment in your own view of the app portal as well. I'm hoping I've explained myself well enough there. Are there some Can't see it. There's some questions that have been raised on that.
Questions directly, but more general feedback that they're lacking it a lot.
Okay, good. So I'm super excited, and the reason I'm super excited is if I go and take a look at my HP laptop, which I just said in the chat I know and love. I'm just going to go and shadow my laptop, which embarrassingly actually is in the office right now at the moment. But so I'm just remoting onto it at the moment. You take a look at my laptop that I typically use day in, day out, and I travel with. Yeah, I've got my AVD session. I can fire up my Windows 365 session if I want to. By the way, Windows 365 frontline support is coming very, very shortly. You can connect to a Windows 365 frontline machine today using that application, but if the machine is powered off, you're going to have to wait a minute and a half for it to boot up, and the application doesn't deal with that particularly well at the moment. So that's what we're working on. So Windows 365 frontline support is coming. You'll connect to a machine. It will say, oh, it's powered off. You'll wait a minute and a half for it to boot, and then you'll be able to connect to it. So I use this machine day in, day out. I see the workspace day in, day out. I've got Chromium, obviously, which is an application. I've got AVD, Windows 365 is an app. I was using Microsoft Edge on a regular basis, which is arguably a custom partition today, but we actually are trying our very hardest to get that as an application that we can distribute in the app portal. A lot of that obviously will demand on Microsoft and legalities, but you'll start to see that there are other applications in there, right? I'm doing a lot of work with Island. If you've not checked out Island.io, I'm a massive fan of this technology, policy-based enterprise application. The idea here would be, Island either create their own application, submit it to IGEL using the SDK, and it goes into the app portal. Or if you guys came up with it first and you wanted it, the same thing we've just done for Netscope. Ron's helped me with that as an example. We would actually use the application developer portal to say, do you know what? I've got a third-party application. I've got the Linux binary of it. There's a recipe that exists. I'm going to use the application developer portal to make an application. I can then come in and import into my UMS either via the web browser, or as you guys know, you can upload an app using the using the tool there. So that really is what the application developer program, the application portals all around. What I'm really hoping is that accelerates the number of applications that we can deploy. And the reason that is taking place is that day in, day out now, more and more of our customers are looking at deploying IGEL on laptops, and more people are saying, yeah, I do need access to published applications and published desktops, but actually I've got a subset of users who want, web-based access into E1 Office 365, and I do want to have the CrowdStrike agent installed on the endpoint, or I do need a Netscope agent installed, and hence we need to enable that and allow people to move to that significantly quicker. What else were we talking about there? Let me stop sharing. We'll go back. Is there any questions that have come up? I think I covered a couple of things there, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah.
You actually did.
Good.
We are already moving to the showcasing, but that's great. I mean, just a perfect handover. It was smooth.
Good.
Mixing topics.
Mixing topics. Yeah.
Would you like to see the presentation again?
Yes, please,
Simon. Okay, bear with me a second. Here we go.
So
see it from now on.
Let's talk a little bit about, I think we touched on SaaS and browser use cases. We also see, and that's something that we are also working since 1 year on resolving that, especially if customers are using Entra ID and the ability to lock or secure their infrastructure with conditional access. That this is a key requirement, especially for those Microsoft heavy organizations. It's a great way to actually make sure that only those endpoints are able to connect into your infrastructure that are meeting the conditional access criteria. So for us, this was something that is super key for our security messaging and capabilities, to be also able to add conditional access capabilities into IGEL OS. So stay tuned on our ability to actually use the conditional flag on your make the IGEL OS device I'm using the old term, a computer object in Entra ID. It's not a computer object anymore. It's a representation of a device in your Entra ID infrastructure. And more than just working with conditions, we are also looking in how we can use the context of an endpoint. So the way the device is being operated, the user that is actually using the device, the infrastructure that is used to connect into your company network, all of this is setting the context of that endpoint. And we want to make sure that we can leverage that endpoint to make even a better decision on whether you want this device to connect into your infrastructure or not. Also, Simon, you've already touched on our DAS capabilities, but even more than just those DAS capabilities, being able to use Windows 365 to connect to Citrix Cloud. I think there is more, working with customers, trying to adopt those DAS workflows into our core verticals like healthcare, like financial services, like government. We are seeing that we need to help those customers to expand their use cases and workflows beyond just having a keyboard and mouse attached, but also making sure they still can use the peripherals as required. The reality in our world is that there's more than just a keyboard and a mouse. There are complex peripherals that need to be redirected into the desktops, whether it's a DAS desktop. I think VDI has already worked on many years on improving the peripheral redirection capabilities. One of our core competencies that we are extending into 2024 is making those capabilities also available for DAS enabled desktops. And it comes even with a higher challenge because there is more latency. There are more unknown network infrastructures in between. But we are very confident that we are able to add value and make sure that the peripherals that you're using today will also work tomorrow in a cloud-centric world.
Yeah, you mentioned there, Matthias, quickly, core verticals.
Yeah.
Retail is one of those core verticals.
Exactly.
And one of the reasons why we're excited about the application developer portal as well is that some of our retail customers who use us for access into VDI, Citrix, VMware, now are also rewriting their Android applications in Linux for their remote endpoints. So couple of customers, as an example, are putting IGEL onto tablet devices. IGEL boots up, and all IGEL does is run a Linux application.
Correct.
On that device. So the application developer portal will enable not just us to deploy community applications that we see in GitHub, but also for a customer to say, do you know what? If I've got a use case where I just need to deploy one type of application on a till or as part of a manufacturing workflow or a check-in, check-out type of device in retail, wherever it might be, people are looking at doing that as well. So that's another important point to make.
Absolutely. I think this is super relevant. Also with Simon's short presentation, you've seen a glimpse of the new UI concepts. So those new UI concepts are not only relevant for the UMS, also the IGEL OS 12 piece will get a refresh, UX improvement. You've probably seen also the first implementation of it with the Wi-Fi manager. So going forward, 12.03 will come up with a input device manager that allows your endpoint user to actually, configure their keyboard, their trackpads, their mouse to their current needs. So it's also, if you want to, as an administrator, you can allow your endpoint user to configure those peripherals and those key assets as you do it on a native Windows machine on a Mac device. 12.03, we had plans to also introduce the new display manager. We will, just as a spoiler, we will delay this for a rolling release of 12.03. We still need to work on a couple of small things to improve the display manager. We really want to make sure it is really meeting up to your expectation. And I know those expectations are set. And we've clearly heard that the current display manager is not good in a friendly way. So
that's a polite way of putting it, Matthias.
Yeah. So, we had this discussion so many times.
I've seen it. It really looks great, and I think it really will help you to make better use of your endpoint devices. So stay tuned. With a 12.03 rolling release, we will then ship the new display configuration manager going forward.
But there is already, like I mentioned, a couple of things coming in the 12.3 version, right? Like the mouse configuration, which is way handier than having this quick settings thingy or display switcher access to your mouse settings.
Yeah.
So we just recorded, as mentioned before, the release session today with Rene and Christian. So guys, if you're listening to the recording, please watch LinkedIn and our YouTube channel, because we will share the release session soonish, as soon as we get a confirmed date. And from there, you will see already a couple of teasers things that will come in that version.
Absolutely. Great. So this is definitely something that we are also listening is, how can we make OS more user-friendly, easier to consume, less of a Linux experience as it is today. Talking about that, I think, Jason, you briefly talked about the IGEL Identity Agent last year. So what do we have on plan for 2024 in that space?
Yeah, so a lot of additional capabilities coming there. So the first of which you'll see over the next, weeks and months. So expanding OAuth support. So beyond the initial set that we had, which was Azure AD and Okta, we'll add in ping and some more, flexible third-party IDP support, more generic support for OAuth. And then with that, we'll be looking at extending to bring in FIDO2 passkey support, another version, kind of V2 of the Imprivata integration, which will continue to expand those capabilities and workflows. And then ultimately looking at how we deliver what we're internally calling an identity agent SDK. So allowing third parties like Imprivata as an example, or others, to integrate directly into our identity agent, leverage all of the stuff I talked about that we were working on for 23 with the commonality of interfaces and devices, et cetera. So a lot of work going on in that area, but ultimately, again, it's really to simplify the overall management, deliver expanded integrations so that, we really are turnkey when it comes to whatever authentication and identity stack that you choose or have in place today, so that we can support all of them. And I'll talk a little more about this in a minute when I start to show some of the specifics of it.
Let's get through the rest of it, because I think the live demos are key. So simplify UMS deployment. Also here, this is something that is really super important for us. The UMS was good as for on-prem deployments. So going forward in 2024, we are also investing a good portion of our resources to make sure we can containerize the UMS, put it in a Docker framework, making sure that it's easy to deploy, have a headless installation. It's easy to spin up and exchange. So that means that if you're running this thingy, the UMS in the cloud, in a container, it is a stateless design that makes sure that, switching to a new version is just taking the old container out and push the new container in a very simplified view. In my world, that's what we are shooting for, making sure you guys don't need to manage a virtual machine in the cloud. It's just that container that is on hand.
This music to our ears, by the way, because that's something that most of our partners resellers were asking for, right? To install a UMS full automated way, to have some automatism behind the scenes. I mean, if you would have one wish for the future, I would say that the REST API or AMI would be the next step to look at. But that's just my personal view. So guys, I will start a poll in the chat to see how you are seeing this, but that's already a huge improvement. So big thank you from our end.
Absolutely. What would be super helpful, Sebastien, if you're doing a poll, let us know what you're missing in the REST API so that we can also prioritize on this one.
That's perfect. I will do so.
Just a last statement on the thin client resurgence. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Jason. I'm not used to sophisticated wordings. So, but I think what we are seeing right now is a very interesting time, right? Where thin clients wasn't en vogue for a long time. I hope that translates, en vogue. It seems like, with Amazon now deploying a thin client for their use cases, the thin story, so having a thin operating system, IGEL investing in making sure that, we have a broad reach into the ecosystem, hardware-wise, but also software-wise. It's reaffirming our messaging, right? It's also helping, it's also a reaffirmation if you think about the boot to the cloud capabilities that are now introduced with Microsoft. All of this talks to, take complexity out of the endpoint, or hide the complexity of an endpoint. We've taken it out, others are just hiding it, and making sure that with that we can provide the end user a simple, secure, and easy access to their cloud delivered application, whether it's in a DAS and a classic VDI infrastructure, or whether it's a SaaS-based application set, or a mix of it. And with that, I think this is going to be very interesting as a prediction in 2024 to see how the ideas, concepts, and philosophies behind a thin client will be, resurfacing and driving adoption in the market. That's just probably one of those predictions that I would like to put out. And last but not least, I think I also want to talk about how important it is to have flexibility in place. And with our focus is also to provide a protocol independent boot to the cloud capability. So no matter whether you're using Citrix, whether you're using VMware, whether you're using Microsoft AVD or Cloud PC or any other protocol, the way how we have built OS 12 with the onboarding service allows you to drop to the cloud, benefit from a single sign-on experience, and make sure you as a customer, you have the choice and flexibility to put your workloads wherever they are best suited, wherever they are most cost efficient, and wherever they are most secure. And with that, I think these are the things that we want to work on in 2024, and I hope we can help you to drive more use cases, more adoption with OS 12. And let's have a look how some of the things that we are imagining are going to be implemented and reviewed in a live demo. And I think, Jason, let's go first on the Imprivata piece.
Sounds good.
Let me unshare. Give me a second.
And we have
the stage is yours, Jason.
All right, perfect. Let's see. So we've got a few minutes here. So I'm going to go through this quickly. And there are some, changes that have happened over time. So when we talk about this IGEL identity agent, one of the first deliveries here, the V1, was really around some healthcare workflows and Imprivata integration. So that brings us to, let's see if my desktop comes up. Let me know if you guys see that. There we go.
Get there.
All right. So I've got two VMs running here just to give you a little side-by-side view here. But this is the new IGEL identity agent for Imprivata. In this use case, it's connecting us environment. And what you see here on the left-hand side is essentially the full lock screen version of this. What you see on the right-hand side is an alternate way to deliver this. So we have some customers that have essentially asked for a full lock screen, cover everything up, make sure that during transitions we don't expose any data, that sort of thing. And then other customers that have said, hey, you know what? we want direct access to the IGEL desktop prior to being authenticated to the Imprivata system and delivering a workflow. And that tends to be scenarios where they want to do time and attendance or have local browser access outside of needing to connect into a virtualized environment. So in this case, I've got a Prox card here. This tends to be the primary modality for the Imprivata workflows, what they call tap and go. So I've got a reader that, let's see, I don't know if I can pick it up and show it, but it basically looks like this thing up in the corner here, this little reader that is connected to the workstation. I'm going to tap my card on this, and you hear it go off and do its beeping. It goes to the Imprivata components. It does a lookup for the serial number of this card. It, in a lot of cases, will ask me for a second factor, which it didn't do in this case because I've already been testing this out. But it could ask me for a PIN or a password as a second factor, even a biometric in some cases. But essentially, the policy comes from the Imprivata side. It tells us, okay, in this case, when Jason has authenticated, we want to drive him into an Azure virtual desktop. This could be a cloud PC. This could be a Citrix session, Citrix desktop or applications, VMware, runs the gamut of all the different things that you can do. So in this case, I've connected to my desktop. I can start opening applications. Imprivata delivers some enterprise single sign-on within the desktop itself. So things like, think of it as credential proxy. So remembering usernames and passwords and stuffing them into applications that aren't yet maybe federation enabled or can't use more modern authentication. Now, in this case, I could tap my card again. It would secure my session. I can also roam it. So if I come over here and you see I've got a little agent in the corner, in this case, I can kind of toggle between this full screen depending on policy, that sort of stuff. If I come over to this side and I tap my card on the workstation on the right, we go through that same authentication process. And once I get logged into the back end, what you'll see is the desktop will roam from the previous location to the new location. It will secure the previous workstation and leave it ready for the next user. Now, in these workflows, I can also, as a different user, come up behind this current user. And if I always tap my badge, I know to walk up to a workstation and in this case, use my badge, tap it on that reader, the system will always do the right thing. It will disconnect the previous user session, connect my session, go through that process. So this is just kind of a quick example of what we're starting to bring forward. And this framework will allow us to extend to other types of authentication, other partners that want to deliver these sorts of workflows. So this is one of the things we've been working on. This is the currently available version that's already in market that's been GA'd. It does tap and go and some other things. And the V2 version that will come out later this year will continue to build on that, add more authentication capabilities from Imprivata in this case, and then start to bring in other partners that start to do the same thing. So that's kind of the quick and easy. Now, if you are in healthcare, you're familiar with Imprivata, our integration essentially has two paths. One is this new agent, which the big change here is that it allows us to have local desktop access. So if I come over here where my virtual desktop is connected and I come down, I can now get back to the local IGEL desktop. That's really one of the big changes here in flexibility. It's still running there. I could have local applications running here and mix it together with my VDI and DAS sessions. In the previous version, so we've had integration with Imprivata for over a decade, but it was very much a component that Imprivata delivered and restricted the workflow in certain ways, one of which was not being able to get access to the local IGEL desktop. And that was one of the things that customers have been requesting for a long time, more flexibility in how those workflows can be deployed. And that was kind of the starting point for this new version of the agent. but both can still be used, both modes and mechanisms. They have different workflow support. So we have some other recordings and details that we'll provide via the community to really start to enumerate and highlight what the differences are there. But that's just one of the things we've been working.
Great.
Thank you, Jason. Lovely.
All right, did we make it in time for the Q&A session?
We are more than in time. We have 15 minutes left, but I guess we have some topics to cover still. Do we want to get your last slide from the presentation, Matthias, or?
I think this is what
There's
Jason
one
already
left.
talked about. So that
Yeah, I would just talk.
I will just show it. Okay, I will just show it briefly then.
Yeah,
and
sure. So this is just to the point, the difference in the integration. So the one on the left is the one I was talking about a second ago. So what you'll hear described as Imprivata Prove ID Embedded, or PI. That's the Imprivata version of a Linux agent. So essentially may at some point turn into an OS 12 app, that sort of thing. But this is built and maintained by Imprivata, has a specific set of capabilities and some limitations, one of which being there is no support there today for AVD or Cloud PC or Horizon DAS, both V1 and V2 brokers. So those are some of the things that the new agent, which the difference here is that it's built and maintained by IGEL, it uses the same set of interfaces. So the thing that Imprivata has built for Linux uses a set of APIs that they provide. The new agent that IGEL has built uses the same set of APIs and the same integration approach, just gives us the flexibility to honestly more quickly respond to customer needs and changes to workflow over time, new platforms, those sorts of things. So really a step in the right direction and more of a, extensible framework that we can use to stay in step with customer needs and demand, which before we had challenges there and needing to, get it on Imprivata's roadmap, if you will, and have them deliver something that then we could leverage. We now have quicker time to market, but it really comes down to workflow. It's all about workflow, and that's how we've started to look at it. So
thank you.
It's the short version. I could talk about this for 2 hours.
I saw you on the talking about this on the healthcare event in the Nordics, and it was pretty impressive. I mean, it was more than a month ago, but
yeah, and we've done some webinars that we've recorded as well that we can make available. That just this topic can go on for like an hour and a half, just to go into all the details of it. But tends to only be super interesting to healthcare folks today. We'll see if that kind of expands in the future as we bring in other integrations.
That might definitely evolve with the time, right? Because this kind of process and a workflow is not only intended to make the life of healthcare easier, but can also be applied to manufacturing or device or retail or so many different verticals that we're looking at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay, guys, something else you would like to get from the standard agenda that we had, or should we move over to a short Q&A?
I think there was a question of whether those webinars that we were just talking about are available. So can you share the link?
Definitely. We will, by the way, Milan, we already had a meetup on the Imprivata stuff a couple of weeks ago, but we will share all the links together with the recording.
So the obvious question. So I thought that the first question would be, is there going to be a Disrupt 2024? And,
oh, wow, you took over the question by yourself. Yes, I don't have to ask it.
There was a question from Mike, locations for Disrupt 2024.
Oh, yeah, right.
So the answer, very brief and shortly, is yes. And we want to keep it. You will get a lot of information in January, so we want to make this still a Christmas surprise in a way, right? So as we did it in the past with our kickoff. So Heiko didn't tell us where we're going with the kickoff. So Stay tuned. This is going to be released and published in early January 2024. But there will be a European and there will be a North American Disrupt event.
But from what I have heard, we'll go back to the source, right? We'll just have one big Disrupt event in Bremen. Is that correct? No, just kidding. That was the first Disrupt that we had.
I was thinking. So where is he going now with that?
What I would suggest, Sebastien, is if you reach out to Carl Gersh and say to him, "Hey, Carl, can you give me 48 hours notice before the big splash announcement goes out, and then we can give the community members on this webinar a heads up, right? And then they know about it before it goes out." But to Matthias's point, it will be a nice New Year's surprise. It will be coming very, very early in January. What that will tell you, because I obviously managed Disrupt for many, many years, don't expect Disrupt to be at the end of January or in February. Because we would have already obviously announced it by now, right? We would normally start back in October. We won't say any more than that, but so you're not suddenly going to get an email in January saying, "Hey, we've got an event in 3 weeks," so that nobody can make it. There is obviously enough time and planning going into it. But first couple of weeks in January, I would expect to hear something. But maybe, Sebastien, you can just reach out to the powers that be and say, "Hey, can I give the community a 48-hour heads up on that?" And I think that would be good. And it'd be
some other news, right? Planned for the beginning of next year. And that's where we're already in touch with Carl to get a teaser for insiders and then a pre-version of the information. So we try to combine maybe both of them.
Yeah. That's not that we're buying VMware EUC, right? It's not that bit of news. I'm joking.
Who knows? I'm not sure if we attended the same town hall yesterday, but
that discussion's not come up today. But 2024 is going to get really, really interesting. It's
absolutely,
Windows 10 to Windows 11 migration projects. I'm seeing loads of those happening at the moment. I'm seeing lots of customers come to me and say, "Hey, can you help me save on my Office licensing?" Because they want to move from E3 to E1 licenses, at least for some of their users. And so people are looking at IGEL laptops with web browsers just for Office E1 access. You got Frontline 365, seems to be quite popular at the moment. And then, lots and lots of people I'm speaking to, particularly the larger ones, are going Citrix on-prem to Citrix in the cloud as well. So it's gonna get very, very exciting, and I think the IGEL roadmap's looking really, really good as well, if I don't say so ourselves.
And it's about enabling our customers to have the choice and flexibility to put their workloads where they are best located, right? And it's still VDI, could still be a DAS workflow, or even just some browser-based applications based on your use case assignment, right?
But that's maybe a good handover to a question that we got in the Q&A, guys. I would just throw it out to every three of you. What emerging technologies do you think would have a biggest impact on the future of energy computing 2024? Because you just talked about next year, right? And that it might be an interesting year. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, which kind of technology are you looking at for next year?
Yeah. I'll say a couple of things really quickly. Number one, we continue to get pushed. I do think thin operating systems, secure operating systems, however you want to call us, smart OSs, hybrid OSs, whatever, we continue to get pushed quite heavily on the security side of things. So I think the security element of what we do and other technologies in this market is going to become even more important. And I think that's one of the reasons why the development team, the product management team, the security team, we're putting so much investment in that inside IGEL. I think that's really important. Matthias knows this, I'm very, very excited about these secure browsers. I think they complement what we do really, really well. We've done a load of work with Island.io. Microsoft have got ways that they can have Edge for Business now as well. I think that's going to be important. We're looking at bringing Firefox to OS 12, which I know was used in OS 11. So you can start to see those policies coming back there. So I think secure browsing is going to be a big one.
Agree.
And I think with that, you will see, as you said, multiple browsers being available on IGEL, right? And I think that it's about the choice, where do you want to render your workload? Because that's in the end what it is.
Yeah.
I think one of my things that I see that will be super interesting is if you think about major use cases, like it was multimedia redirection in, what was it, 2010, or multimedia in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then now we have unified comms that still needs some work to be done, but it's also an interesting topic that requires the attention of the endpoints being optimized and working very well with. My prediction is that we will, and every time it was, how do I decentralize the compute for that specific use case, right? So multimedia redirection, unified comms optimization. With fat clients, we have unified comms workloads on those endpoints. Everybody's talking about AI, and one of the things that I see coming, where we are also very interested in, is there will be also next generation of hardware will have co-processors, AI co-processors, and A, how can we make those accessible? B, what are the use cases that you can drive with those co-processors? So I'm thinking about audio optimization. I'm thinking about increasing the frame rate on endpoints just through AI optimizing, rendering the missing frames, rendering the lack of drop frames. So these are things that will be super interesting for us to look at, and that's what I'm really keen on to see as a technology change that is attached to AI, which could have some benefits in our world, right? There was a question from Leon, I think, was it?
No, it was from Ahmed or from Sven.
Ahmed.
We have two questions left.
Ahmed, I saw that. So UMS as a service. We are working on, as I said before, optimizing the UMS to be deployed in the cloud, more cost efficient and more streamlined with a very high degree of automation. That is the first step. We are still debating whether IGEL is going to provide UMS as a service option, or whether it makes sense with partners like MSPs to enable those partners to provide a UMS as a service option with the optimizations that we have put in place. I'm just fully transparent on the thought process that we're putting out. There's no doubt that UMS as a service is a requirement. We clearly heard this from you in the community, from partners and customers. The question is, how do we deliver that service? Is it a service being provided by IGEL, or is it delivered through our partners? If you have opinions on this, also feel free. I think Sebastien and Rene are happy to collect those opinions.
Definitely.
And so we are committed to provide UMS as a service in the one or the other way.
Okay, perfect. We have one last question left. Rene.
Yes. So in regards, we discussed that we're planning community council in January, and probably this could be an outcome that we create a Slack channel for our insiders who can take the feedback out of the community, can select the bugs they're seeing there, and we can directly report into our PM team and maybe also to our OCTO team to be aware of this. Yeah, that was the question, and I think we can put this into January when we have our community council, because those are the things we want to discuss. How can we get the feedback? How can we get a faster reaction on bugs? And yeah, I think this is it. Anyone?
I can already tell you, just jumping in, because we had this discussion with the product management team already, but I will let the stage to Matthias. We are already in discussion with Christian and with Florian if we could do so. For the moment, the workload is pretty high, so have a direct access might be difficult, but I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
I think it makes 2% to have a direct feedback channel into the product organization. And I think the way how we are building this is super important. And so right now it seems for you guys to be very indirect, I think. I think it needs to be a more direct experience, but still we are collecting all of the feedback through Sebastien and team. Giving you a faster response. I think this is what we are owing to the community. So definitely that is a priority for us. And you see, we do listen. Sometimes we are a little bit deaf on the one or the other ear, but we still are super psyched about having such a vital community and making sure we can collect the feedback here.
Okay, perfect. I would say thank you very much, guys. We are just in time, 6:30 on my time. I can't thank you enough for joining the session, Matthias, Jason, Simon, and Rene, and obviously all the attendees to have been there. We will share the recording in the couple of days, just a couple of re-rendering, and we will cover all the questions, all the polls, the survey that we did during the session, and share it with all of you guys. So yeah, in the meantime, I wish you all the best for you and your families. Hope you will have a great Christmas time and a great New Year's Eve if we don't speak again until that. And I wish you, just a great time. See you soon, guys.
See you, everyone. Thank you.
See you. Thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your support.